Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus, one more time, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people. Gladly calling myself an agent of the most universal, the most powerful, God. Today I want to speak to you on the subject matter, setting the captives free. And I want to thank you so very much for giving me your time, ladies and gentlemen. I know many of you are saying, why do I come on with so many posts? The truth of the matter is that the message that I bring is so necessary. It is so essential for setting the captives free. It is so essential for making a difference and change. And if you who perhaps would look at some of my posts, you will see that very few people are listening. Sometimes, if it's something recent, you might see 1, 2, 3 views, maybe 5 if I'm lucky. And most of those 5 might have come from me just checking to see if anybody has paid any attention to it, which basically signifies that the message that I'm bringing, as far as the public is concerned, not that interesting, or perhaps I'm not making the right tags. Nevertheless, the viewing audience has been very minimum, and so every day I am inspired to say something clear that maybe it will be as interesting as somebody fighting in the streets that could be posted and maybe in a week's time have 1 million views. This is about life. This is about freedom. And so it's essential to me, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm not playing games. You know, when I come to you, I talk about God. I realize that many of you do not believe in Jesus. There was a time many folks believed in Jesus. But over time, people have decided that maybe it's not what it was all set up to be. Even preachers who used to preach Jesus are coming down and said there was no Jesus. And so I don't focus on Jesus beyond those who believe in Jesus. But my focus is in God. Now, any doubt that might resonate with any of you about God, that's on you. But for me, there is no doubt. All of that doubt has been removed. And it was removed by a miracle that happened in my life. And you might say, well, the miracle happened to you, Eddie, but it didn't happen to. And so why should you believe? Well, you should believe because of my commitment to the work that I've been given to do. You won't do this work. It's going to take a major motivational force for somebody to stand out here and go through the changes of hell that they have to go through to alert you, to emphasize in such a way that you will see that there must be something magnificent that will cause anyone to do what you yourselves refuse to do. So when it comes down to Jesus, I ask myself, and I would ask you, based upon your relationship with God, is it possible for a virgin birth? Well, if you recognize that a man exists out of nothing, then you would say a virgin birth is kind of simple. You might ask the question, is it possible for a blind man to be made to see? Well, if you can think of one that has the power to make eyes, to give sight, then why not be able to restore sight? If one is deaf and can't hear, I mean, that seems like to be a little minor fix for the power that made hearing. Walking on water, I mean, anything that exists, my friends, that's established by God, there are no limitations to whether this can happen or cannot happen. And yes, can one raise the dead? My friends, out of dirt or out of whatever the reality of it is, you exist. The first one exists. Raising the dead to me is a very, very simple matter. But you know, we get caught up in things that we don't understand. We hear people say things and we can believe it or we cannot believe it. You talk about what happens after death. Most of us know that we haven't, as far as we can recall, have an association with anyone that has ever died. I mean, literally died and came back. Died and was able to come back and say, I went somewhere. Now, we have a few people giving testimonies to that. But for the most part, that doesn't exist. So when we love our friends, love our parents and our children, and they get ready to die, we've seen it over and over again, where we give them the best incentive we possibly can, how to face this mystery. You're going to heaven. You're going to be with God, wrapped up in God's arms. You're sitting on God's lap right now. You're going to be with your parents. You're going to be with those who've gone before you. We don't know that. But it surely sounds better sending a person that's dying than saying hell. And so, whether this is true or not, it's based upon our intention. So the Jews, whoever they might be, whether they're the white people over in Israel right now or whether they were the black people, they said they were expecting the Messiah to come on a white horse with a sword, ready to do the same thing that Satan does, kill and defend truth. But when that didn't happen, when someone was given by the name of Christ that walked on the earth just like you and I, and was doing the kind of things that was identified as being Christ, they said, this is blasphemy. This is no Messiah. Why? Because they looked for him to come a different kind of way. They didn't know how he was going to come. They just knew that a prophecy, they knew someone had said that he was coming riding on a white horse. And so they accepted that. Didn't take away from what Jesus did. They just said he wasn't the Messiah. And for those of us who call ourselves Christians or who have called yourselves Christians, you should understand that. Because what have you accepted as the truth? You've accepted that there's going to be a time when Jesus is going to return. He is going to return, not on a white horse, but he's going to return as he was last seen, ascending. So he's going to come back, coming down, descending on a cloud. Now that's what you have been told, and that's what you're holding your heads up looking for. Now what has happened? 2,000 years and more. I know more because I've been hearing for 69 years. So it's been at least 2,069 years that people have been waiting for Jesus to come down off the cloud and fix this hell, this mess that we are living in, rather than fixing it themselves. So ladies and gentlemen, we get caught up in all kinds of things. But the thing that is supposed to motivate us, if we believe, and for those of us who know, we are to be the ones that's carrying the baton. We're the ones out front establishing what is to be. And we're talking about God's way constantly. We're talking about the peace, the freedom, the prosperity, the joy of life, and the fulfillment of dreams. This is what we advocate in the pleasures of our Almighty God and our Almighty God's way, the Creator's way to that having our dreams fulfilled and our whatever, ladies and gentlemen. And then when we talk about the adversary, I could give you scripture about history, but I'm not going to go there because you weren't back there, and it's just be me passing along some stuff that I heard. And we don't have to pass along stuff that we heard. It has been said there's nothing new under the sun. So if something happened back there that made an obvious distraction and an obvious separation from the love, we can look at it around us here today. And we can see that. It can be expressed to us in terms that we can understand. And what could that be? There's nothing I can say that have happened in my lifetime, and perhaps yours, that made it so much clear. You heard that Jesus, the almighty wonderful one, was taken up on a mountaintop and was told several things by Satan, asking Satan asking Jesus to submit to the rule of the adversary. and how things could be made available to God, to Jesus. How the whole world, control of the whole world, dictator of the whole world, if he bowed down and obeyed Satan. Now what does that mean, obey Satan? That means to deceive. That means to distract people from the truth of God about that which brings peace. To bow down and lie, and if you must, cheat if you must, kill and abuse if you must, but make sure that you got control. Why? Because this is Satan's way of manipulating people and trying to beat God by taking people's mind off God. So, what happens like that today? What can we refer to see a basic example of that? We don't have to go back too far. Just go back to the presidential election of 2016. You got a man that comes before the American people and says, I'm a billionaire. I got so much money. I'm the smartest man on the face of the earth. You ever heard a man come to you in your lifetime and say he was the smartest man on the face of the earth? No. But you heard it this time. You heard a man who avoided the military and told you that he was smarter than all the generals. Can you believe that? Well, somebody did. He said he was more intelligent, had more brain sense than all the people in America. That he would be the greatest president, and even when the little while he's been in office, he said no president has been as great, has accomplished as much as he. Can you believe that? But when he came before the American people, he didn't just come down an escalator. When he went to speak, he had a big plane behind him. What did that plane represent? Power. Big buildings with his name written on it in big letters. People can recognize it, see it from distances. This is power. This is the man who is so rich, so wealthy. He don't have anything to worry about. He doesn't need the support of billionaires and millionaires because you don't trust them. You don't trust them. You see what they have done. So now you got a man who is a billionaire, just like the ones that you don't trust. But he says trust him because he doesn't need the rest. Same old Satan on the top of the mountain, trying to get people convinced to trust him. Going to do this, going to give you the best health care system you ever seen. And it's going to be so simple, so easy, going to be just like that. You're going to be winning, winning, winning. Oh, you're going to get so tired of winning. My God, have you ever heard in your lifetime anybody that came and presented themselves to you just like that? But he did. And guess what? There was so much animosity. There was so much distrust in the way things have been in your lifetime. And you were going through so many trials and tribulations, you couldn't wait to trust somebody. And so what I saw was Satan's agent sitting right there before you. You didn't see that. You saw hope. And so you dove in. Now that hope didn't just come there on its own. That hope was trained. That hope was guided there before you. Because, hey, even on the mountain, there was someone telling Jesus what to do. And so there's someone telling this one what to do. He's not new. They told Putin the same thing, what to do. They told Ferdinand Marcos what to do. Pol Pot what to do. Everywhere there's a dictator, Hitler told Hitler what to do. And now he's telling this man what to do. And just like the people followed all those others, you, the American people, following this agent of Satan. And so he gets into the office. And what does he start doing? Taking health care away from people that was supposed to be so free now since he's in. Making sure that trades that was made between other parties to benefit you, which didn't benefit you as much as you thought, but he was cutting them out. He wanted to build a wall to keep people who were running from pain and suffering, who was hoping that they could get some rest, R&R, here in the United States. Build up a wall so they can't get here. Putting down people who are sick, making fun of them, talking about other nations where people suffering at. And the American people loved it. A third of the nation loves that. Well, I understand. When Satan called Jesus up on that mountain, if he had called any of the other people, they would have jumped on it. They'd have jumped at it. But see, the difference between being right and wrong is that right ain't going to jump at it. What makes it right is the truth. The truth knows that there is another way. The truth knows that this thing is temporary, that this demon is talking about. And now when the chips come in, everybody has jumped on, the legislature, Senate legislatures jumped on the side with Satan's agent. The Attorney General has jumped on the side with the Satan's agent. And the Democrats are trying to holler, "Holy, you're going down," but they can't really holler you're going down because they played a major role in us getting here in the first place. This nation has been here for over 200 years. 200 years. They ran from oppression and built this nation here on the foundation of oppression. So isn't it sensible that there's going to come a point in time when people are going to be fed up? The only thing is, the only offer that they had was Satan. Where were the preachers? Where were those who were talking about the truth, talking about God? They were killed. The last one I know of was Dr. Martin Luther King. People didn't like what he was doing. They thought black people should be fighting. And so King wasn't the most righteous man as far as philosophy and ideology goes, but it was better than what we had. Some people say, no, before we were picking cotton, but we had money. That don't mean a thing, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm saying to you, the whole purpose of a new world, of a brand new world, a new world, is exposing the lie that I've just shared with you with Trump. You know it's true. Those of you who are going with Trump, you're going to stay with Trump. But the rest of you who are putting down Trump, I want you to know the answer. You might think being a Democrat and standing up for democratic principles might be a little bit better, and it might. But it's not the truth. The truth is God's way that eliminates all of that stuff or the need for it. So when we talk about a new world, we're talking about people standing up for God and then eliminating this junk that we've been experiencing all of our lives. Yes, I know many of you have been above this. Yes, you have been above this. You caught on to the coattails of those who had sold out to Satan. And that's why you smiling. That's why you go and have the advantages that you have. This is why you call yourselves privileged. Because you're riding the coattails of those who sold out to Satan. But what about the rest of the world? You think God is satisfied with that? No, he's not. It's not at all. And so the new world that God is standing for, and I'm speaking for, eliminates all that. But at the same time, you are hearing of another new world. They call it the New World Order. Is it foundation based upon the things that I just shared? Of course not. Its foundations, if you do any study, it's about killing people. It's about causing people to have war. Getting people to fight and kill each other in war, feeding poison to people through food, doing all kinds of things to destroy people. And if they have anything to do with HAARP, that weather machine, they're trying to make sure that floods and earthquakes and anything that they can control will demasculate this earth and tear down as much as it possibly can so that they can stay on the top. They think they can survive all this other kind of stuff. While billions of us, even those who are riding on the coattails, be wiped out. So then the whole earth will belong to them. And they can start replenishing the earth again with people who are submitting totally to the New World Order, where the Rothschilds and the billionaires and the Illuminati and Satan runs. Come on, my friends, I'm just trying to tell you some stuff. Now, many of you say, well, we've been living here for a long time. When is the end going to come? The end to these problems that we have in our life. Why don't God come and wipe this out? Well, that's a simple matter for me to tell you, whether you believe it or not. When this world was established, when human beings were put on this earth, you, my friends, you were given choice. Choice. You had a choice to create the heaven that I speak to you about, You had that choice. Or to create the hell that we're living in. You had that choice. And what is the choice you made? You made the living as hell. And you keep looking up in the clouds, bought into a lie that some figure is going to come riding out of a cloud. Don't you know we're talking about spirit? Don't you know spirit is a taking indwelling within the human beings just like it did Christ, for those of you who believed in Christ? That the seed was planted. And when that spirit comes down, it's like corn, a grain of corn that spreads to everybody that accepts it. And rather than have one man walking around here talking about peace and prosperity in God, you got millions and millions of people walking around standing up for God, giving representation for life, exposing the bull, exposing the Satans, exposing what Satan is all about, exposing the lies, exposing the hatred and the bigotry and the foundation for it. And then, my friends, you're not killing anybody. You're setting people free with the truth. That way you lead to this world order, God's world order, not the new world order that's killing people, but the world order that God is sending his spirit in to enlighten individuals to stand up and give representation for. This is why it's taken so long. Because rather than do the work that is required of you to do, you got preachers getting you thinking just coming on the church. And when you die, say the right things and you're going to be up in heaven. Even the worst people on the face of the earth, their conversation, you're going to be in heaven, sitting on Jesus, God's lap, drinking milk and eating honey. No more this, no more pain, no more suffering. Why, you ain't been nothing but a devil down here on earth. And so, what do you expect the activities to be for people who are fed like that? I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to set the captives free. Because there are many, many people in bondage. You are in bondage. For those of you who don't have a job, and I'm not talking about a job for money, I'm talking about a job for a participation in the creative process of these things that God has required of you that would bring you the happiness. You can't do that, you're in bondage. You don't have access to health care, unlimited, from the womb to the tomb. You are in bondage. You can't access education, unlimited and unrestricted. I'm not talking about having money to try to buy your way in. Of course, there are always going to be educational sources. There are going to be colleges and universities. Some are going to be more dynamic than others. Why? Because there are certain things that people will be required to do that requires a little more intense education. And so when you say doctors, because let me tell you that there's some stuff there. I don't know what it is, but there's some stuff there. And some other technical people, it requires you got a super brain. And God has given you that super brain to go to these universities and prepare yourself so you can come out of there and do super things for the human race, not for money, not for Satan, but for the human race. And so nobody is prejudiced because you got a Yale or a Harvard and an Alcorn in the Mississippi Valley State. Why? Because each one of them got their purposes. And nobody who's going to any of them are jealous with anybody else, because any doctor knows he needs a clean toilet. And a man or a woman who cleans a toilet is just as much entitled to any of the benefits of life as a doctor. Now, I'm not even talking about lawyers, because we don't have no place for them. We don't need lawyers anymore. That stuff is old. So what am I saying, ladies and gentlemen? I'm saying that there are people that's suffering. Floods, fires, earthquakes, all of these things, these people are suffering. There are nations that have been seemingly wiped out. And there ain't enough money coming around, not enough social fire insurance, flood insurance to deal with these situations. But there's a way, God's way, where people can repair these situations, do the infrastructure in pleasure, not complaining, not talking about the wages, because there the wage is, what is it that you want? Health care is yours, education is yours, health, food and clothing and shelter is yours. The infrastructure, transportation, vacation, recreation, all of these things are yours because you engage yourself in the process of its establishment. My. When I think about, and I look on the Facebook or YouTube sometimes, I see men who are so old they can't hardly stand. But they're carrying forward their conversation. And if you do some research, you can look back and find when they were young men. And all of these years, they've still been advocating. From the youth to their old age. Some of them have died out, black and white. I look back on the videos and I see me when I had teeth, when I had black hair, when I still looked like I was filled with life. Now I look at myself, I'm old as can be. But I'm still doing what I've been given to do. I got no choice. I was given a continued life to commit myself for God, for you. Most recently, I recognize we got a high school class reunion that's coming up. 50 years. And I love my classmates. You know, it seems like now, over these 50 years, look like I can remember them all. Some of them I went to elementary school with. Some of them when we were just little kids, we went to the same church. We sang songs together. We played together. We played basketball and football together. We played sandlot stuff together. We were in operettas and plays and musicals and in the bands and rock and roll bands together. And I can see them all. Even those that I really didn't call friends at the time. You didn't really hate anybody, so they were people you knew. And it seems like even at this date, I have a personal relationship with them just because I remember them. And I would love to go back to a 50-year class reunion. I would love to do that. But I'm in bondage as well. For these past 40 years, I've been out here talking this talk. And out of these 40 years, I haven't held a job any more than 6 years. Now, before I got into this business, when I was, you know what you say when you're out in the world? Oh, it was altogether different then. I was going to be on the top of the world. I was going to make sure that I don't care what you had, I sure look good as well. But when you're committed to serving those that's really hurting, you have to separate yourself from that ambition of yesterday. And so what I'm basically saying, I don't have the money to run and go these different places. Why? I'm living in the devil's world. And the devil's world says that you got to have money to do anything. And I put myself, I used to be ashamed when I looked in the mirror and I saw teeth missing. I didn't have the dental care, but I couldn't afford it. In God's world, I would have no problem. None of us who need health care, dental care would have any problems. But we live in a world that's run by Satan. And so, because I made the choice that I wasn't going to serve Satan, then I couldn't maintain the adequate and proper dental care. Time changed, you know, even teeth, just like age. It changes. I used to feel bad about it, but and I still do, but for different reasons. I used to feel bad, I thought it was me. But then I realized that it is a system that I live in. It is a system that we live in, a system that's supported by people who are in bondage. It is a system that's supported by people who are blind to the truth of life, and they give life to this hell that we live in. I used to feel bad for you, that you did not understand. But when I really took toll, and I gave it some real thought, I know that if you knew better, you would do better. And so when I look in the mirror and see these things that I don't like, it just reminds me of the hell that I'm living in. It reminds me of the choices that we as people have made and are continuously making every day, and how important and how essential that I don't stop, I don't care how rough it gets, I don't stop as long as I can breathe, as long as I can stand up. I've got to tell you that we're in bondage. I've got to tell you that there's a God. I've got got to tell you that God is a spirit, and you can't see him, you can't touch him, you can't feel him, but the evidence is there. I got to tell you that we're still living in this bull over these 2,000 years because we have been deceived. We think that what we're doing is right. We are looking for somebody to come out of the cloud, but the Spirit is here. If you allow the Spirit to live in you, you will do the work of God. You will fix this hell. You will run the devil out, and nobody will be able to stop you. And you will be blessed. And your children will be blessed. And it won't come out of politics. It won't be a Republican or a Democrat. It will be children of the Almighty God. Do I sound like I was preaching? Well, it is what it is. For those of you who stood by, I want to thank you so very much. But when I'm telling this to you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not just talking. I'm saying to you that there's something required of you. I don't know what walk of life you're in today, but whatever it is, there's a role that you can take in that position to glorify God and expose the hell of the situation that you're even in. And if you get thrown out, God got your back. And the more that are thrown out, the better it will be, because people will begin to see, and you will be motivated beyond what you ever thought you were capable of doing to serve the Almighty God. And what is that? Serving the people. Setting the captives free. Thank you.